Look, Bumble knows you're exhausted by dating. All the must not take yourself too seriously and 6'1" since that matters. And what do I even say other than hey? Well, that's why they're introducing an all-new Bumble with exciting features to make compatibility easier, starting the chat better, and dating safer. They've changed, so you don't have to. Download the new Bumble now.
Families have a lot going on. Let Ollie help manage the mental load with new cognitive help supplements for everyone 4 and up, like delicious Lolly Focus Pops or Lolly Mellow Pops for kids. And for parents, try 3 new Brainy Chews to help you focus, chill out, or get energized. Find these cognitive health buddies for the whole fam at ollie.com. That's OLLY.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the latest episode of All Too Real 2. My name is Michael E. Cullen II, and with me, as always, is...
Sesame sex addiction is bad in Carta.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Indeed. Indeed.
What?
Especially bad before the internet was a thing.
You had to work harder at it back then.
Yeah.
Which means you really had bad.
Oh, boy. How you feeling there, Sesame?
A little bit disoriented.
Yeah, I'm pretty depressed.
True. Yeah, I'm a little bit dissociating a little bit.
Yeah, so I was, the world is such a happy and good place to live in right now. So
Oh yeah, totally.
Yeah, so I needed a movie to depress me.
Yeah.
Wait. No.
Yeah.
I think it was the opposite. I think I needed a movie to pick me up from the depression of the world, but
It depends on what your mood is, right? Because
yeah.
I used to watch sometimes like horror stuff or zombie stuff, and like for some reason like watching those movies would kind of like almost like regulate my mood in some weird way.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, it's almost like watching those movies would like kind of like absorb whatever feelings I was having into the movie, and therefore that would kind of give me like a clean slate of mood, if you will. But also there's times too where you just like, I want to watch, Community for the 80th time, or News Radio, or Spin City, or what have you.
Yeah.
Those are your shit. But
I know. Yeah. But it's the world is such a happy place where you have, several genocides happening and, presidential candidates that don't care about the actual people that live in the countries that they're running. Yeah. And
good stuff.
And people that worship a presidential candidate like he's Jesus. And, things like that, happening in the world. So everything's rosy. It's all butterflies and rainbows. And speaking of rainbows, if you're listening to this in June, happy Pride. And at least we got that.
Oh, you got so woke, man. You're so woke.
I know. I'm sorry. I just turned off like 2 people in our audience, maybe. If you're listening to this show, honestly, and you do not support all people, having the right to love one another or exist, fuck you. And
no. Yeah. No, you're going to turn off one of our like 558 listeners or whatever. No, we need all of them.
I just turned half our audience, that one guy that listens to our show and watches Newsmax when he's not. I don't know. But
or the guy who waits for our with bated breath for our advice.
Yes.
In our advice portion of our channel.
Well, that was my advice.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's true, I guess. Yeah, okay.
My advice is if you're a bigot, fuck you. Maybe not be a bigot. That's the best advice I can give.
Awesome.
Yeah, and speaking of people who are kind of bigoted and misogynistic and sexist and things of that nature, we watched a movie?
I guess you could call it a movie. I mean, it was produced on film, so
Well, I mean, that's another thing. I don't know if that was film or video or what. I'm not sure what it was produced on because it was really bad quality.
It looked like film, but maybe it was just like an effect that they used or something.
Yeah, I don't know. This was made in 91, released in 92. Well, released at the end of 91, and yeah, it's the film that we are covering today is a movie called Even Hitler Had a Girlfriend.
Yeah.
Which is an unrated 1992 film that's 138 minutes long.
Oh my god. Really? Oh geez, I didn't realize.
Not 100. I mean, no, an hour and 38 minutes, not 138.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm like, wow.
Sorry, I read that wrong.
I would just,
yeah.
I would have not finished it if it was that long. I'd just be like, all right, I'm protesting. I'm not gonna watch the rest.
I mean, it felt like it was 138 minutes long. But it's a film directed by Ronnie Kramer, written by T.G. Baker and David Manning. Ronnie Kramer, the director, has directed like documentaries and other things. But he directed this, and then I mean, he's known for Highway Amazon, September Sketchbook, Blackstreet Jane, Mugs. Anyways, he has a varied career. His latest project was a short film called Icons back in 2019. I do believe he's passed away though. So yeah, he passed away in 2021.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. At the age of 64. T.G. Baker is only known for this and the sequel to Hitler Tapes. David Manning is known for this and the Hitler Tapes. So the film stars Andren Scott as Marcus Templeton, and then like a million women who are scantily clad throughout the movie. I'm not going to name any of them because I don't know one that's more important than the other in the film. So
there's too many to count. So
Yeah, I'm not trying to be sexist here or anything, but yeah, the women literally are throughout the movie. We also have a guy named Jim Norton, not the comedian Jim Norton, but Jim Norton is he's known for the movie Straw Dogs, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, Water for Elephants, The Boy in the Striped Pajamas, the TV series Cheaters, which is recent. He's got he was in Mary Poppins Returns, TV show Elementary, a lot of things. Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, Midsummer Murders, a lot of well-regarded things. He's in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Really?
Yeah, and he plays Marcus's father.
That's crazy. Who do you play in Chamber? Oh yeah,
in Chamber of Secrets. He was let's see here. Oh, he was also in American History X.
What?
Yeah, he played Mr. Mason in Chamber of Secrets. I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I'm not
probably
sure.
Like a smaller character, but he's in a lot of like prestigious films.
Yeah, that's crazy. And in this movie, he's like
he played Albert Einstein on Star Trek: The Next Generation. He was, wow, this guy has been acting ever since 1965, and he's still acting today.
Wow.
It looks like. He has 123 acting credits on IMDb.
And this is one of them?
Yes.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
I mean, somebody's in a Harry Potter movie, Straw Dogs, and Even Hitler Had a Girlfriend. It's just like, what a varied career.
Yeah. I wonder if this was like a favor he did to someone.
That's what I'm wondering.
Like, hey man, can you just be in this movie for me for like, I don't know, you get like 10 lines maybe.
Yeah. I mean, they could have shot all of his part in like an afternoon, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's what it kind of seems like.
So yeah, the short synopsis here on the Internet Movie Database is, this is the story of Marcus Templeton, a lonely security guard who blows all of his life savings on prostitutes because he is a total loser. Yep.
I mean, that's pretty much the whole movie. I mean, you can just end it there.
That's the summary on the plots. That's the only plot summary that they have on IMDb. So yeah. So what was your reaction to this movie here, Sesame?
God, just disoriented, just kind of left me feeling depressed, which I guess, that was like the goal. It was kind of successful. Maybe that's what they were going for with this, just making it really drawn out, and just it kind of reminded me of Chick Boxer a little bit, but it was much better in some regards. Not so much better in other aspects of it. But Yeah, I just kind of felt icky after watching it. I watched it in 2 sittings. I watched half of it last night before I went to bed, which was not a good idea. Then I watched it a little bit, like, I don't know, a couple hours ago. I watched it.
Yeah.
Hey.
I watched it all last night, and before I went to bed, and I'm pretty sure it gave me nightmares. Yeah.
Yeah.
It made me depressed. Makes you think about life. I mean, I guess it probably was the point, but it's really weird. I mean, you've got your main star, Jason Alexander wannabe. He just reminds me of Jason Alexander for some reason in his looks, but not his voice at all. But just
voice.
He looks like I don't know, Jason Alexander with more hair. And a mustache. Yeah. So this is very typical of your. I mean, it was well regarded by certain people at the time that it came out. It was given by Joe Bob Briggs, the guy who shows like B movies and stuff like that. He voted this the #1 drive-in movie of that year.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Maybe there was only one drive-in movie that year. I don't know, but
I was like, wait a minute. Like, really?
Yeah, no, just joking. Yeah, it's but basically the short synopsis is the movie.
I mean, it's really not much. I mean, just like the details, I guess, but like,
yeah,
there's no B plots. There's really not much even like a history to go over of like why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
Other than the weird hallucinations where
he has hallucinations of his father on the TV screen.
And I'm not sure if it's implied that his father is dead and he's like talking to him through that or what, like I don't really know what the implication is. The implication, like Dennis Reynolds would say, but like, and in this case, it's actually a good analogy because of the whole sex worker stuff they've got going on. But yeah, I mean, there's really not much to it. He's a security guard. They kind of make him look like Hitler as a joke. He's got a mustache and he wears like a hat, like.
And luckily though, it's not a little tramp Charlie Chaplin mustache or anything. So
it's not like that. No, they didn't go that far with it. But I don't know. Just like there's all these weird monologues he's doing because like he wants to be a writer. I guess they sort of touch on that a little bit. And he goes through these little things like where he's just like it's just stray thoughts or whatever.
Yeah,
just I don't know. It's just ridiculous. But
I mean, most of the movie is narrated through his like monologues. It's kind of like his thoughts in his head as we're going throughout the movie, which was a choice. And even when he's talking to people, it sounds like the voices in his head because the way the audio is done, it's kind of interesting. Like it almost sounds like it was redubbed. But I can't tell. Like,
yeah, I definitely got a few instances of that. Yeah,
but yeah, it was an interesting choice. I mean, I don't know if I hate this movie. It could have been better if it was done a little bit different. I mean, the main thing about it is there's like, okay, so there's way too much nudity in this movie.
Oh yeah, it's excessive.
It's gratuitous, and it's like the director just basically. I understand at this time of movies like this existed. It's just, but it's basically porn, not like hardcore or anything. But it's like it. Because like basically what happens here. So what happens in the movie basically? I mean, to start off.
Okay.
We'll down a little bit to brass tacks here.
So Marcus, he plays a security guard. There's really not much going on at his job. He has to watch over other cars, I guess, to make sure that no one breaks into the cars. But
he works at night too. So.
Yeah, he works at night. And his car is usually, the only one that's parked there. So he just kind of looks at his, dirty rags, while at work and probably masturbates as well. He's definitely, he's addicted to porn. He eventually gets tired of that. So he gets the idea of like, what if I, hired a sex worker or whatever? And just goes on forever where he's just like making like tons of phone calls to different like sex worker companies or whatever, which is weird because was it legal?
First, it starts out where he's just watching the X-rated channel on this local cable. So yeah,
he's got that. Also, too, he's a peeping Tom, so he's got that going on for him. And he always goes to the same house and always watches the same two people naked or have sex. And it's like, how are they always naked? Like, does he just happen to show up at the right time? You know what I mean? Or like, are they just always naked? Like, And
what I think happens is that they call him ahead of time.
Oh, I see. So it's like a kink they got going on. We're like, they call him to be a peeping Tom, but then they act all front and chase after him. That's part of the thing. Okay,
it's just their kink. Yeah,
gotcha. So it's like all their kink together. That's kind of nice. It's like they're all in this together type of thing. No,
a mutually beneficial relationship here. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. It's really like cute and touching. Well, touching in a different manner, but like and so the movie kind of begins, I think, with him peeping through, and then one of the people eventually sees him. The guy runs out to chase him, but he always ends up running away in time. This goes on like 3 different times, though. It's like at a certain point, wouldn't you like have your window again? I guess it might just be their kink, because the only reason why that would keep happening so often is like if they just let it happen.
Or you think called the cops or something?
Yeah, it's something, not just run out and then stay in your yard and just let the guy run away each time. And also too, wouldn't get like what's that?
And that guy had hair. He had great hair.
But no, I know he had like a huge like coif, like a huge.
Looked like he was very hair metal band or something. Yeah,
like Mel Gibson in Lethal Weapon type of hair.
Yeah,
but blonde. Not dark. But so he does that. Eventually he starts recording him with his camera, which is even more of a violation of privacy. Like, Jesus Christ, this guy's racking up misdemeanors and felonies. Like, his
deviance kind of develops where he starts out with the X-rated stuff on TV, then he moves into calling up call girls and trying to bargain them down in price.
I know, that's the other thing too. It's like, dude, like that was the thing that actually made me the most mad at him, was that. Not all the other one, the peeping Tom stuff, obviously, but like where it's just like, dude, it's like, really? Like, you're trying to talk him down? Like,
and then I was waiting for him to start, like bartering, like, well, I'll give you a chicken if you give me a blowjob. So he does that when he starts having sex with these prostitutes. He has like a little audio tape recorder, so he thinks that he can relive the moment by listening to it, and then eventually he buys a camcorder, and then he hides that to record the escapades. So it's
which is another
violation.
Huge violations of privacy, and totally. But he's a deviant. And the other thing too about this whole movie could have been avoided if he just went to therapy and just spent his money on that instead of all the sex workers and stuff.
He even brings that up at one point. He's like, I could go to therapy. I wonder how much that costs. Oh, I should probably just spend the money on prostitutes or whatever. So it's just like, what the hell?
No, you shouldn't actually. You should spend it on therapy, because then you'll work through your issues and you won't have to like keep indulging in them, and to the point where it's gonna like really hurt you, potentially even kill you at some point.
It's a good commentary on how our health system sucks in this country, and if we had affordable health care and mental health care, maybe this guy wouldn't have had what happens to him at the end of the movie. So.
Yeah, because these other aspects to him too that are not that bad. Like, for example, it's implied that he doesn't drink or even drink soda. So it's like he has some aspect of disciplining, or like living with discipline, but just not when it comes to the areas of sex, obviously.
Yeah.
And I just felt kind of bad for the guy in some ways. But obviously, some of his actions were just totally illegal. And I'm called for, but like
it's like I'm trying to figure out what the commentary of this film is. If it's a satire trying to point out the like misogyny and bad behavior of men of that type or something, or what, or like our society and how men are taught to be in society that leads them. It is kind of ahead of its time in a way too, because it's basically like we live in this world right now where you have like, this guy's like the original incel.
Pretty much.
But, gets out of it obviously by having sex with prostitutes and stuff. But it's like, a lot of this might have been avoided if he had the internet. But this is like 1991, 92. So it's like before the internet really took off. This was, of course, years after Al Gore invented the internet. But
that was before it became more commonplace, he invented it, but only a few people were using that at that time.
Yes.
And that was before he invented the Al Gore rhythm, and so
Yes.
that also the internet even more advanced. Or some would say actually not as advanced because the algorithm has ruined the internet
Well,
in so many ways.
The algorithm is what has led people to, I mean, basically this guy, I think in modern times would be watching like Jordan Peterson or what's that Tate guy?
Andrew Tate,
Andrew Tate. I couldn't remember his first name. He'd be watching those type of things and being basically convinced that women are evil and are just made for sex and whatever, but he kind of already feels that way. He would have been even worse. He's so
because
he's so obsessed with women's bodies and breasts and stuff.
Yeah. And he even makes one comment once about something when he's reading something about a woman being 190 pounds, and he's acting like, oh my God, that's so, it's just like, wow. Plus, that's also like an indication of how more obese people have become in America since that time, where at that time, 190 pounds was seen as like huge, you know what I mean?
Well,
like
the other thing is like he's like about 200 pounds and he's acting like 190 is bad, but I mean still I understand.
Yeah.
I guess women and men have different beauty standards or whatever of the times, but just but he's not even really in that bad of shape per se, it's like he's a little overweight, but it's like I think I'm more overweight than he is, so it's like I don't know. But I am older than
mainly
this, but
and he's just mainly depressed, doesn't have any confidence, so he just kind of walks around, and that's the other thing too, is like he's just like shy, and he doesn't really know how to talk to people. He doesn't even really have a friend. He even said at one point, he's like, maybe I should call Dave. Dave's my best friend. And he's like, no, he's really actually not that great of a friend. I probably shouldn't tell him my personal problems. And he's like, yeah, he probably actually hates me. It's like, okay, we went from best friend to acquaintance to he hates me. Like,
well,
that's
I know I've been in those situations in my life where I was really depressed and I was like, who can I reach out to? This person will talk to me. Oh wait, but I might annoy them. That's going on in my head, and it's like, and then eventually I just don't talk to anybody, or I do, and then it's just the same person over and over again, and then I do depress them, and so I've learned from that and grown in my life, but it's also the fact that I think that this is like a precursor to what a lot of the issues that we have in the world and problems that we have, where men are into this manosphere or whatever it is, where they think they're they think one way and they think that no woman will ever love them or anything, and they don't take time to actually treat women like they're actually human beings, and they still treat them like objects, and they think that all women are evil and out to get them or something, and it's like, and then it's only jerks that get women, sort of thing, when there's a lot of good men out there that get women, and and there's a lot of good women out there that just don't want to be with you because you're a jerk, so
or it just or it doesn't even have to be that. It just be they just don't like you for whatever reason. And like that's another lesson to learn too, is that doesn't mean that you did something wrong or that there's something wrong with you. It's just that for whatever reason it just doesn't go well together, or whatever. It's not a right fit,
I mean, I know
so he was kind of,
I was gonna say it's hard for a lot of people to like figure out that just because you like someone doesn't mean that they're gonna like you, sort of thing.
Right.
But anyways, what were you gonna say?
Well, I was just gonna say, like, he was like kind of halfway there with the incel vibe, like you said, but pre-internet. So he didn't cross over into the hatred aspect. He was just kind of stuck in the depressed middle aspect of like, before you get into the rage mode where you're like, women are the gatekeepers of sex, and then like these weird things that people literally say weird shit like that. I remember having to read on the manosphere because I was writing an article about it. And so I had to go read these websites or these articles from these different people. And man, I was just getting super depressed reading through the articles, because it was just like, I was like, you guys really believe this stuff? Like man, like I would just feel so disempowered, if I actually believed that like there was just like no chance, no nothing, like, okay, so what do you do at that point? You either just become a psycho and kill women like that one dude did, the LA Roger, whatever his name was.
Yeah. Most of these people like Andrew Tate and whatnot don't even believe, I think, half the shit they say. They're just doing it.
Oh no,
they know it gets them clicks. And I mean, because there was like I don't know which one it is, and I don't give a shit about all these manosphere guys, but there was like a guy at a baseball game, and this little like looked like 12-year-old kid came up to him. He's like, "I love you, women suck," or whatever, or like "fuck women."
Oh right.
And it's like, and the dude had to like kind of had this look on his face like he had to try to like reevaluate what he was doing with his fucking life. I don't know if it changed him or not, but still, it's like
probably not. But like
probably not. He probably just realized, oh wait, now I got younger fans. I should probably be a little bit different. But yeah, it's just
Yeah, but yeah, I think it's Sneeko was his name or something like that.
Yeah.
Some bullshit idiot like Twitch streamer asshole. I hate these people. But like,
yeah.
There's good thing this guy didn't have the internet because he would have just like totally went on the other side. I just kind of felt bad for him because he's like obviously depressed. He had nothing going on in his life. He lived like in a shitty apartment. Didn't really have any hobbies except for writing, but usually his writing was just the weird shit he was talking about. There was really
he didn't
have any friends
away and
had no friends, worked late shifts, so he pretty much doesn't have anyone to talk to at work, so he's just kind of by himself even at work, just watching for intruders, or whatever. Not a good life, to have. And so that he's got this sex addiction on top of that, which, not faulting him for that because people have addictions to all kinds of things. And it just, for whatever reason, for him, it just happened to be, sexual deviancy. I mean, it could have been drinking, it could have been like, coke, heroin, whatever, but it just happened to be that, So, but instead of getting help, like, he could have, because he had the money apparently, but he just didn't want to spend it on that. Because, be quote unquote boring. It's like, maybe at first, but then eventually you would like to be a happier person and, you'd build more confidence. Then, you actually could talk to a woman in a normal manner and actually go on a date with her. And then, she'll want to go on a date again with you. Because apparently he had been on a few dates, but none of them went well. But he thought they went well.
Yeah, I mean, they even show him on this one date where his aunt set him up with this girl that goes to she goes to a church with the mother of this girl, and she's like, I don't believe in sex before marriage, and his response to that is like, can I touch your breasts? Stuff like that. It's just like
just be a sex pest. I mean,
maybe talk to the woman and get to know her, sort of thing. It's like,
I mean, he just doesn't know how to talk to women or anyone, it seems like, really. I mean, he's very shy. He doesn't have any confidence and stuff like that. He doesn't have any hobbies because she was trying to ask him, questions about, to get him to talk about things. And he would just be like, oh, and then he just ends it after that. And I'm like, well, she's kind of giving you an opportunity to actually talk about yourself, or the things that you're interested in. And you don't even really explain why you're interested,
you scare her away, basically.
And so it's like, I mean, I'm at the point in my life where if I went on a date, I probably wouldn't even think about like sex or anything. I mean, I'm not saying I wouldn't think about it at all, but I'm just saying like I would totally be okay with just talking about shit, and like not have sex at the end of the day be like the goal or whatever necessarily. Just like to just basically experience the moment as it's happening, like not anticipating something after, but like focus on the actual moment at hand, which a lot of guys just seem like they can't do or something like that.
Well, I mean, and it's just like we've basically gamified the whole idea of dating with dating apps anyways, where you're just like swiping left or right on somebody and deciding if you like them based on like a little picture on your phone, so it's like, it's just sad.
Or you got quote unquote eHarmony, which is also bullshit. Because I have a friend who paid for that for, I don't know, 6 months or something like that. They said, oh, we'll guarantee you find someone in 3 months or whatever, and all this stuff. And we have this weird algorithm where we find all these weird things where we find out who you're compatible with the most or whatever. And he couldn't find a date within. Like, you couldn't find a single date within 3 months. This thing advertised that people were like finding lifelong relationships within that 3-month time span, and he couldn't even get a single date within that time span. And then he finally did, and it was some woman who he barely had anything in common with. Like, for example, she was like hardcore sports fan. He's not into sports, so I'm not even sure how that happened in the algorithm. And like she wanted to go to like a baseball game or something with them, and he was just like, okay, I guess I'll go. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it wasn't even like,
yeah.
I
mean, sometimes opposites can attract, but it just depends on personality and stuff. But still, it's like but in society too, with the internet not helping at all, where we've actually kind of limited the whole idea of there's no third space where, you basically just have work and you have home. There's people aren't, I mean, hanging out at cafes as much in places and stuff like that. I mean, I'm starting to do that more often myself. I walk down to a cafe and just kind of hang out and write and stuff, but it's just, but I never talk to anybody half the time. I'm just sitting there and I'm left alone by myself drinking a cup of coffee, so it's like, you never know what's going to happen. But, but if you don't put yourself out there, you're never going to meet anybody. But still, it's not made easy, though, because everybody's in their own little world, because you go to a cafe and everybody's on their phone.
Right.
They're still online. They're just not at home online. People are online, whether it's at home or at church or at the grocery store or whatever. You're always on your phone. It's just so stupid.
Right. And each of those people are invested in their own little subculture within the internet.
Yeah.
And so there is no like relatability anymore. Like, I was talking to one of our mutual friends about this the other day, because he was talking about when he was younger, there was like a ice cream like cafe kind of place, and I forgot where he was living at, but like it was like on the corner of a street.
Yeah.
And so people would like, drive by and they'd park, their car like in the back parking lot, whatever, and a lot of people would go there. And I kind of made the point, I was like saying like, I think that's kind of the reason why people don't really do, because like now everything's like plazas, like you gotta, so it's like, and even when you're in the building, you're separated from the street. And so that's like an extra layer of isolation, you know what I mean? And I don't know, it's just like,
and people don't live in neighborhoods anymore either. It's like you live in a city, but it's like, there's no neighborhood grocery store. I'm going to drive, a few miles to Walmart to buy my stuff, or to Kroger or whatever.
Right.
It's not like there's a corner grocery store where everybody knows your name, sort of thing, or even a corner bar or anything like that. It's just all so just dissipated out, like where you just kind of have to do everything. And there's not a lot of, I mean, there are some, local businesses, but a lot of places you don't even have as many local businesses. It's like, Burger King, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Burger King, McDonald's, Taco Bell, Walmart, it's just like,
it's all corporatized.
Yeah.
And I remember too, I was when I was working at this place doing deliveries, I would sometimes go into forgot what area it was, but they were it was like not a trailer park, but it was kind of like I guess it was like a trailer park. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but like they had like a sign out in front to entice people to move there.
Yeah.
And the sign was just like this nasty, it just was not artistic at all. It just looked really like, just, I don't know. Just looking at the sign just made me feel depressed, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And the sign basically said, like, McDonald's and Walmart nearby. And, like, that was, like, the selling point to live there. And I'm like, yeah, that's depressing. Like, I mean, I know it's funny, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, like, that is just depressing.
If that's your selling point, that could be said anywhere almost, because there's a McDonald's and a Walmart probably within driving distance of almost anybody listening to this podcast in the United States right now, so it's just,
well, this is a little bit further out, like in the boonies, so I think that's why they're advertising like it's not that far, type of thing. But it's just like, I don't know,
it sucks when there's smaller towns that could have a lot of like local businesses, but then you do have something like Walmart move in and basically kill all of your smaller businesses that Walmart has under their roof.
Yeah, and now you've got what was it? Rainn Wilson had. I know we're kind of veering off a little bit here, but that's okay. I think it's related, because this movie really is about isolation. When you think about it, like that's the whole.
I mean, honestly, this movie was kind of ahead of its time in a way. So
yeah, no, it is. It's like it's pretty much just about isolation and how that breeds unhealthy habits. And yet, in this case, just happened to be about sex, because like he didn't drink pop, he didn't drink alcohol, it didn't seem like he ate a whole lot. Like he had, sandwiches and shit. So it's like that was like his one vice, was that one thing, like,
yeah.
And he just spent all of his money on that one vice, because you could almost see the progression too, because like when he first gets the idea, he's like, oh, I'll do this once a month, and then it's like every day, like,
yeah.
He's like, like, I can afford this once a month. I could just call a sex worker and we can hook up. And which again, I don't really think there's anything wrong with that. Like on the subtitles, it actually said sex worker. But I'm thinking that was like a new subtitle because I think back then they probably just called prostitute. You know,
I'm sure this movie was only recently subtitled too, because I don't think it's been wildly available before this.
Yeah, and so like I don't have anything to hold anything against that because like I would think it's just like any other form of an occupation, and like I know there's this weird stigma to it, but like I don't really see what the stigma is because it's just like, oh well, if someone can't get laid, then that means they gotta hire a prostitute. It's like, but isn't a lot of services like that where like if you can't do something, that's why you hire someone to do that thing for you or with you?
They say it's the oldest profession, which is not true though, because there has to be a profession before it where you make some kind of way to pay somebody to do that, because you have to be a hunter or a gatherer or something to be able to give them some fur or some food or something to pay for the sex. So I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, but I'm just saying too, like there's nothing wrong with being a sex worker or paying for sex, and just in my personal opinion, because it's like, it's a service. And if someone like, let's say, and it's not just like, let's say like a quote unquote loser or whatever, can't get a date.
If you just rely on that as an addiction, then I think there's the issue. It's more of an addiction aspect, but if it's in and of itself, it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, that was the point. I was thinking it was just like, because like, let's say, there's people out there who like maybe have like severe physical deformities that other people don't find attractive. So does that mean that person just is not allowed to ever experience the joys of sex? You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, there's all kinds of like, reasons why someone would need the services of a sex worker and why someone would be the person to deliver those services. You know what I mean? And so it's like, because a lot of people too are like, oh, well, they must be so depressed if that's what they do all day. And it's like, but maybe they like doing that, or maybe they like making people happy who otherwise wouldn't be able to have that experience. So like, that's actually something that brings them joy, is knowing that like, oh, this person was probably never going to be able to have sex at all, and so I'm the one who shared that experience with them. Like, it's not just like, I don't know, people just have like these very puritanical like ideas about that kind of stuff, where it's like either the person's a loser because they can't have sex, or the person who provides the service is like, that's the only thing that they can do or whatever. It's like, you don't know that. You're just making all kinds of judgments based off of like zero knowledge,
Yeah, I mean, it's what it is, So it's like you can't, everybody's life is different, and whatever makes the world go round. I'm not one to judge that. But back to the plot of this movie.
Okay.
So towards the end, this is the only major thing that happens in the movie.
Yeah.
It's towards the end, he hires a prostitute. She finds the camera that he has there, and she pulls a gun out of her purse and then shoots him in the head.
And steals his hat.
Yeah.
And tape recorder.
Yeah.
No, sorry, the video recorder.
Yeah. So yeah, and somehow there was a sequel. I don't know. I didn't watch it yet totally.
So he didn't die, evidently, I guess, because he got shot in the head. Maybe he got shot right in the part where it didn't kill him, so it just kind of like knocked him out.
Yeah.
Which is also really sad, is that so there's like these like weird little like not really subplots, but they're like, kind of reminds me of RoboCop when they have like these commercials within the movie itself. And they kind of had this where it was like some lotion that was supposed to make you lose weight for some reason, I guess. And so he eventually caved in and bought some because he was kind of suspicious at first, And then he ends up taking some and starts rubbing it on his belly as he's like dying from the gunshot wound. I'm like, why would you need to lose weight right before you die? Like,
I mean, you're gonna probably lose some after you die anyway. So I mean,
yeah, but then he wants to lose more quickly. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then and so you had that kind of thing going on, which I thought was kind of funny. The weird, I forgot what it was. Like, it's just as safe as any garden vegetable is. Or I'm like, well, not all vegetables are safe necessarily, and like, or not every plant is safe. Rather, you have no idea what they put in that stuff, and he's just rubbing it all over his body. I don't know. Yeah, it just there was something else I was gonna say. I forgot what it was, but there was like, like you mentioned earlier about like just way too much nudity. Like these scenes would just go on for minutes.
Yeah, I mean,
like
they had women dancing on the screen, and
for like 2 straight minutes or more. Like
probably like 5 in some of the cases. I swear, it was just like, at least it felt like it.
Felt like it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. It's just,
and that's the weird thing about this movie, because like this movie, the context of it or whatever, actually made me feel really uncomfortable watching these women dance naked. And like,
oh yeah,
why am I not being turned on by this? It's because the whole context of the movie is just so depressing. Just
I mean, maybe that was the point, to try to.
Maybe, yeah. I was like, turn it off, please. I don't want to see this right now. Like,
Yeah. And I mean,
maybe it's like a secret anti-porn movie that like breaks porn addiction, and you watch this movie and then, like
it could be. I mean,
yeah.
In a sadder note though, the Arden, what is his name? Andren Scott, the star of the movie.
Hey.
He was sadly working as a clerk at a Denver area 7-Eleven, and he was shot and killed during a robbery before the sequel to this movie came out. So in 1994, he died at the age of 37 on March 25th. Yeah, so that's kind of depressing too. So
this whole thing, everything about this movie is depressing. The way it looks, even the film quality makes it look kind of depressing.
Yeah,
there's a lot of darkness.
The film quality kind of gives it a dreamy sort of.
It does,
like a nightmare effect or something. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it really.
It's one of these movies that I can't decide if I hated or liked. So it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely did not. I mean, I wouldn't watch this a second time.
No.
Probably. But like, I mean, I did say I hated it last night, but that was just because I was just getting really bored with it, and I just wanted it to end because, again, these scenes, it's like with Chick Boxer. Like, it's probably because they didn't have enough material, so they had to like stretch out whatever they had in order to make a full-length movie. Although Chick Boxer is much bigger culprit on that front, because that movie's only an hour long, and only about 20 minutes of that movie is actual stuff going on.
Yeah.
Like, everything else is like a 18-minute long karate class.
Yeah, it was all a bunch of padding in that movie, and in this movie too.
It just
no pun intended.
Well, yeah, no pun intended. Yeah, and but at least this one looked like it was made on film and not just the regular VHS Chick Boxer. But similar style, kind of 1991 or 90, so it's around the same year.
Yeah,
independent film that's trying to be edgy. It's, I don't know, it seems kind of very similar.
I think they both have a cult following, so it makes sense.
So I wonder, if there's just something that was in the air at the time where it was like a not a meme, like a zeitgeist type of thing, where everybody was just kind of having like similar ideas at the same time without really having any like knowledge of what anyone else was doing. It happens like with music and stuff.
I mean,
too. It's like
I feel, I mean, in certain ways, I kind of feel like there's elements of like Richard Linklater or early Kevin Smith in this too, like in certain ways, like it's just interesting, like Slacker or Clerks and stuff like that too. So or even Robert Rodriguez to a point. It's just like, it's hard to right around, they were all made right around the same era, so it's kind of interesting, and all made for like nothing. So
like just very low budget. I mean, God, they probably paid most of the money to that Jim Jordan guy, whatever his name was. No, not Jim Jordan, sorry.
Jim Norton.
I'm sorry, Jim Jordan is the dude from the Ohio guy, right? The senator, whatever it is.
Oh yeah.
The sex pest or whatever.
Jim Jordan's he's a senator or whatever. So he's
what was he? He looked the other way, right, for something like.
Oh, he looked the other way in some sexual harassment allegations from Ohio State and stuff. So yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Anyways, any final thoughts here on this?
No, feel free to edit some of this because it's.
Well, no, I think what we talked about is good, and I think that people might actually get something from what we said. If you have any thoughts on this, please comment wherever you're listening to this. Also, check out all2real2.com for all of our information, to our TeePublic, our social media, our Patreon, stuff of that nature. It would help us out a lot. Just, don't be a voyeur and go up to people's windows and yell in that they should listen to the podcast, though, because that'd be creepy. Yeah.
Well, it's not only creepy, it's against the law, because you're invading someone else's property and privacy.
Yeah. It'd be the weirdest way to advertise.
I would not recommend it.
No.
Like, hey, go listen to this podcast, Everybody's got a podcast these days, so why don't you listen to this one? And I'm gonna make sure you do by going to your window and like.
Maybe put some flyers under the door, like in this movie. There's actually a bunch of religious flyers that end up underneath the door that was never resolved, and we never found out who was leaving them. So
it's right, because there was a whole thing where he called up the cable provider to ask them if they had like a list of subscribers who subscribe to the porn channel.
Yeah,
and then she's like, "Oh, it's all confident," because he was like getting all paranoid about who might know if he's like watching all these movies out there, and he's like, is my window open, or can people see through here, or can they hear me ever? And like, someone's always sliding these religious pamphlets underneath the door, and a few times he was trying to stay up all night to see who did it, but he always ended up falling asleep
or all day, I should say. You should say
or all day. Sorry, all day. He goes to sleep in the morning. And that's just depressing all of itself. Third shift is just the depressing.
Oh yeah, it's horrible. I worked third shift for 13 years, so it totally ruined my. I honestly think that working third shift for 13 years ruined my life. So I'll tell you that I'd have been a completely different person, I think. But yeah,
I say so. I mean, it's alienating.
Yeah.
I mean, I was always staying up late at night, so I'd come over and hang out with you at like 2 a.m. and shit like that.
Yeah.
But like, that was pretty much it, probably.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard to have a life when you're asleep when everybody else is awake, and vice versa.
Right.
But anyways, I think that's about all I have to say on this movie.
I'm good.
Yeah,
there really wasn't a off of.
But so, folks, just remember that I love you. Marcus Templeton loves sex way too much. Sesame loves you. And until next time, bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to All Too Real 2 podcast, a Cullen Park production. Produced and edited by Michael E. Cullen II. Music by Matthew Hawes. Subscribe and share the show. Visit us at cullenpark.com.